Let's shoot the shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, let's shoot the shit. Let's pontificate, verbally masturbate. Come on, come on, come on, let's shoot the shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's time to shoot the shit. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, motherfucker, let's shoot the shit.
There's a bleep there. Said a naughty word. Yeah. It's your first time on the show. I apologize for that. So, welcome to the show. We've got Ryan Ferrero and Gregg Bagni, and we're going to talk about Green Garage, which is some full disclosure to make. Green Garage is a company that we've been working for a while now, and we're also CPB also is an investor, and I'm on the board. So I like it, and I'm not going to pretend I don't like it. So in this show, you'll see me and hear me saying nice things about Green Garage, fully expecting to someday take advantage of that financially and in other ways, I guess. So that's full disclosure.
There's pressure.
What's that?
There's pressure.
You don't get that from your politicians, though. You don't get that kind of full disclosure. That guy that's doing the who's an investor in the body screening stuff, and he's calling for body screening in every airport. He doesn't tell you that he's an investor.
You're in for the big payoff, and you're not afraid to admit it.
I'm just going to admit it right here.
Are you announcing a political candidacy?
I am not. I don't think I would cut it in politics. The show is live, as usual, and we're open. The tweet lines are open. You can reach us at FearLessQA. At FearLessQA, and tweet in there, and we'll get your questions, and we'll try to answer them as we go along. So let's start with the basics. Ryan, what is Green Garage?
Okay, so Green Garage is essentially a sustainable platform to maintain and repair vehicles, and we have vetted products that we work with NREL, which here in Colorado is National Renewable Energies Lab, and University of Colorado, and then our own posse of scientists to make sure that what we're using is green and helps with fuel efficiency, saves people money.
Yeah.
And then it's convenient. So
it's when you say platform, it's like a store.
Right.
And there's different forms of the store. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
I was it's interesting to me, like where you come from. You were in the car business. You were born into it, I guess, right? This is a funny picture of Ryan's Christmas tree, and I don't know if you can make it out, but that's a toolbox under the Christmas tree. Other kids get balls and big wheels. Ryan gets a toolbox. So
it was a tough childhood.
Yeah, you've obviously, been twisted around and experienced a lot of the automotive world. You come out of dealerships. Right, and I was reading a little thing about Ellen DeGeneres before she came out and said, "Hey, I'm gay." She had a dream, and in the dream there was a little bird in her hand, and she was putting the bird back into the cage. And as she put the bird back into the cage, I read this in Oprah you guys probably read it too.
Regular subscribers.
Yeah. So
you gonna tie a toolbox in here? That's all I want to know.
As she put the bird back in the cage, she realized that the cage was against the window and it was open to the window, right? And she put the bird down and the bird looked at her, and she realized the bird could just fly out. And she said to the bird, don't fly out, it's safe and it's nice and you're happy in the cage, it's a beautiful cage. And the bird looked at her and took off. And I wonder if you had a similar dream when you decided to get out of the car business and get into the Green Garage business.
I didn't dream about Ellen DeGeneres.
You didn't?
No, or her bird. So the analogy is that the toolbox is the bird?
There's no analogy with the toolbox. That was Gregg trying to make an analogy with the toolbox.
I was just jacking with you.
No, so, I've been in the car business my whole life, literally born into it.
Yeah.
But born in Boulder. And for people that maybe don't know about Boulder, it's a pretty social, conscious town, and I think there's a lot of thought leaders behind green initiatives and eco-consciousness. So there's always been kind of a clash on what to do with the car business that's smart and eco-friendly.
Yeah.
And how can we make it greener? And Just
so when you go and you meet people in Boulder in the past, and you say, and they say, what are you in? What do you do? And you say, I own a car dealership.
Well, I'd say more like, I own a car dealership. Because it's not very cool.
Right, but we all have cars.
Yeah.
But we all have cars.
You don't like having to deal with the car, though, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of in a way, that comes to the genesis of the idea, too.
That's right.
Which is that between $0 and $40,000, there's nothing that the average person can do to take their vehicle and make it greener, just to feel better about, what they're driving.
That's right. We clearly know that the automotive industry is messed up. We see it with bailouts the last couple of years. Dealerships are closing. Plants are laying people off, especially in the Midwest. So there's obviously a better way. And what we think is, with Green Garage, now you can feel good about what you're doing with your car. And it's your car. You don't have to think about, I have to go buy another car to feel good, and then buy another car after that and keep consuming.
Right.
That way, make what you have better.
Yeah.
The greenest thing is kind of what you have. So to be able to optimize your current vehicle, to me, I think is a wonderful thing. Because, hey, Priuses are wonderful, but the footprint's pretty big.
Right.
I mean, of course, they're trying always to try and minimize that. But to take what you already have in the garage and spread some Green Garage love on it is good.
And maybe you don't have $20,000 to make to take a step into green, and this way you do. Gregg, I just want to also mention that Gregg was a former client in a former life when we used to work with Schwinn, and we've been friends ever since those days. And I guess I introduced you to these guys, and now we're getting to work together again, and that's a really exciting thing, because Gregg is one of the all-time great clients.
Thank you.
If people remember the early work with Schwinn that Carmichael did with Gregg in turning the Schwinn brand around, amazing work. And then we eventually inherited that and did some, what I think was some really nice work as well.
A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, so it's good to be working with you again.
Likewise, and the decision wasn't that tough. I work with a lot of outdoor enthusiasts across a bunch of different categories, but I work with a lot of enthusiast brands. Yeah. And I saw this as kind of an extension of that, and being able to help people, even like you said, between $1 and you can start with $1 and you don't have to spend $40,000. To me, I think we can make a big difference.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to sort of seamlessly slide in.
It's a big step for you because, after Schwinn days, you were what you used to refer to yourself as a consultant.
That's true. We spread love.
Spreading the love, the consultant. And you spent many years in consultancy.
10 years, 1 month, and 7 days. But I'm not counting.
Right. And to actually become part of something again, and a startup, that is a big deal. I mean, you had a lot of opportunity in that time. We recommended you along the way for many a job.
That might have helped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
No, I mean prior to this.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like over the years, and you liked your autonomy, but this idea is kind of, I think, spoken to you.
3 things. Number 1, the people. No, and you're part of that. You're probably top of the pyramid on that. I think before I accepted sort of getting involved, I actually sat and interviewed with everybody in the company for a couple hours, and the people side of it, I thought there was some really good energy there.
Yeah.
I think the other part was the concept. Like we said before, maybe this might be part of my DNA to sort of be able to do something other than buying a Prius. I mean, to make a difference. I ride my bike to work, and I do drive a car, but it's kind of cool to have that.
Yeah.
And I think the third thing was, I think the timing is just, I think there's a moment. There's a unique, what they say, every opportunity is unique and none are repeatable. I think this is one of them.
Yeah.
So I figured, hey, I might as well jump in right now. Plus I get to work with you again.
Well, so that's, it's pretty interesting.
Coming on.
Yeah, we'll
You're
hug
in the
at
way.
the end.
You're in the way.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting. I'll just say one more thing about Gregg, but then I'll go on. Gregg, if you know him, and a lot of people in the business do know him, he loves pie. I mean, it's fanatical. Anytime Gregg comes by, he'll bring a pie. He had this pie made. You didn't bake this yourself.
I stayed up late last night on this baby.
Creating this pie for the show, And that's the Green Garage icon. It's kind of a happy face with a wrench dimple mouth thing going on.
I call it a spanner smile.
Spanner smile. Okay. So why? I think one of the things that people out there might be wondering is why did you decide? Because most companies don't, that they wanted to have an agency as part of the startup.
Well, there was a lot of thought before we made that conclusion, really. But I think what it is our brand is something that's fun. It's got to have a lot of passion, good people. It does not feel like work. It's kind of like a drug. You're addicted to it, and you're doing good. You're saving people money, and it's something people need. So where better to find that energy than in an ad agency that can carry that passion and put it out there overtly, so that your customers start to get a feel for it and they get a taste for it as well.
So if you now, I mean, we've been working together how long on this?
About a year.
A year.
Yeah.
And if you, so seriously, and this you can answer it anyway. If you were going to do it again, would you do it with an agency again? Would you recommend that somebody else out there works with an agency as an entrepreneur?
So it depends on the agency. In the car business, I worked with a lot of agencies that are, cookie cutter, place it on TV, get your donut spot, and it's kind of dull. But what I found here is that the passion is not only behind our concept, but that as a startup, there's a lot of contribution and DNA from the staff. They got to be involved with the build and creation of the product and the company, instead of coming in with a company that's already established and repackage what's already there.
Right.
So there's a lot of contribution.
If I could build on that for a second, I think you do yourself a disservice by calling yourself an agency. I think there's much more.
I'll stop.
There's more depth to it, and from what Ryan says, I agree. You know what? There's the aspect of positioning, but there's also, you guys are deep into product, you're deep into the consumer, you're deep into the development, you understand the business cycle, you know what it's like to drive somebody to retail. And most agencies, they have trouble understanding that full package.
Yeah.
That's the
But there
Chicago
are agencies that get that. I think there's more and more.
I do.
Yeah.
I would agree. I do agree with that. But I think you guys are pretty special in that way.
Yeah. And in many ways, I think agencies are reverting back to what they used to be. They used to have all those assets, and I'm talking about early part of the century, even. And that sort of understanding and ability to build things from the ground up got spun out of agencies as they began to specialize in the areas where they made the most money, which was television and media. They spun media out and they said, we'll execute TV and print. And that's all eventually they were good at. And now we're trying to reclaim all that, but we're reclaiming it from people who've taken it from us. So there are the consultants such as yourself that have taken
They're
a piece of
consultants.
that. Yeah.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, I'm sorry.
Well, when you said the word story, that's what we need to do with our companies. We have to tell a story, and it's complex to tell a story today. Social media, do you use TV, newspaper? How are you going to tell the story? We're very excited about our story, but we need some skilled thinking on how to execute on that.
So if I have a couple $100 and I want to do something to my car, what can I do? Like literally, if I come to you, what can I get done?
So you can literally spend nothing, and we help you with driving technique. And that sounds kind of dull, but it's really exciting. And just figure out how to get more miles per gallon out of the way you work your pedals.
Yeah.
So it could be nothing. It can be something as simple as an oil change that extends the time between oil changes so you have less frequency. So you save money that way. It can be looking at the actual operations, like a spark plug that burns hotter than a traditional 100-year-old technology spark plug. And for that, you get less emissions, more power, more fuel economy. So for a couple $100, probably we would look at the type of oil, the oil change, and maybe look at spark plugs and call it a good day.
Yeah. And that what would that run me?
So what would it do for fuel economy?
Well, that would be a good question too.
Cost price?
I'll ask that one.
So basically what you've got is, it's not just, if I have a Toyota Camry, it's not that we have recommendations for the Toyota Camry. What we would do is say, well, what are your plans for the Camry? Are you going to keep it for 5 years, keep it for 2 years? How many miles do you drive? And what we look at is, with all, we call them interventions, but with all of our products, when are you going to see the payback? And from there, we'll look at you and your Camry, and it's like marital counseling for the car, for you and your car, and then figure out what the best way is to spend money on your, and invest in it.
I was just going to say, you guys hooked up one of those devices to my car to see, and it gives you actual mileage in real time, and it's highly depressing. I mean, for me, it was highly depressing, but also really educational in terms of how you're driving, and it becomes a game and kind of a fun game to figure out, how you can get more mileage. There is that culture of hyper milers out there that exist that pretty fringe, but I like the idea that it's not all about fast and furious. What we get and the enjoyment we get out of our cars, we can get it in other ways. There's other games to play, and this is a really fun one to play.
I would just throw in, I think the oil filter and the change, this sort of high performance dual stage oil filter, it's a pretty amazing product, and you can over 30,000 miles, you can use 70% less oil. And look, whether you're green or greenless, that means less dependency on foreign oil, and I don't know, I think that's a really big deal right about now.
Yeah. Then this is an important point. You guys, it's Green Garage. There's a lot of greenwashing out there. It's easy to say green, harder to be green. How do I trust? Why do I trust, and how do I trust Green Garage?
Well, in the automotive world, it's pretty hard to use the word trust.
It's a really
in the same sentence.
Really sick category.
It's hard to fit that in, but we are very transparent, and much of our headquarters that Gregg was talking about is focused on vetting these products to make sure that what the manufacturer of these products claim they actually do. So we've got to be transparent about that. We also have to make sure that the services that we provide are more than just the product. So we're customer centric. We are very focused on convenience. What we do want to make sure it saves our customers money. And those are two other words you don't see in the automotive business very much: convenience and savings.
Yeah.
It's not something you put on a business card. It's something that you actually feel when you're the consumer.
Yeah. I mean, the category of getting your car serviced is just absolutely broken.
Sketchy.
But the idea, like, there are a lot of things that we get to do that we think, tomorrow I get to go, to this store. I'm going to do this, right? No one has said within the last 30 or 40 years, I can't wait to get my car serviced tomorrow. And let's talk about the idea a little bit, because it's evolved. And I think that it's actually gotten to the point where it's such a fun experience, the what's happening now, that people will look forward to it.
It's prideful,
and they'll talk about it. So just a couple things I wanted to just show really quick. There's the logo, which we saw on the pie.
Nice pie, by the way.
Yeah. And this is an important piece. When you get your car serviced at Green Garage, afterwards a sticker, not this large, a smaller version of this, I think I have it here, goes on your car. And what's interesting is when people are done getting their car serviced, they're asking you to put the sticker on.
Green tuned is the big thing. They want to be green tuned.
Green tuned in 2010. And I think that that sort of speaks to the point, which is I don't feel good driving my car. I don't feel like there's any way other than having a Prius or a hybrid that I can make any kind of statement that I care. And then Green Garage comes along and it's like, get me that sticker on there as soon as we're done, because it really helps me with this guilt I'm dragging
Take some
around.
of the guilt away.
Yeah. Well, originally the idea started off, when we first talked, the idea was a retail store.
Right.
And so one of the things we have here is we have some architects and industrial designers, and they started working on, what would this retail environment feel like, and how would it be, different, entirely different from the automotive experience. And, we joke that the automotive experience was you walk up to a desk, there's some dude there, he's on the phone. At first you think maybe he's on the phone ordering parts or something. After about 5 minutes you realize he's on the phone with his girlfriend or his buddy. and you continue to stand there until you're really incredulous. Like, really, dude? Like, you're not even going to acknowledge me at some point, or give me a 1 minute, or
That's an industry standard.
It's an industry standard. So
Yeah.
we wanted to make that impossible, and so the design of the store was that there wasn't the desk that separated customers. It was a free flowing environment. The associates would be women and men. They would be on the floor with the customer. And there wouldn't be even a register to separate them. It would be a hand sort of checkout thing. We talked a lot about how we would display the products, and that the associates would actually create the displays. Those are chalkboards, so they'd have to actually interact and gain knowledge as they created the POP in the environment. Here's another sketch of what that might feel like.
Smilage.
Oh, we should talk about smilage too.
Yeah, talk about smilage.
But we were really excited about this idea. I'm just going to flip through really quickly some of the other stuff. These are fun. They're like shop lights as the lighting. So and a lot of thought went into that. But most recently, the idea has morphed a little bit. So it's retail, but now it's retail that comes to you. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So how it works today is.
And it is working today. So if you're in
Right.
Boulder, if you're, you can call Green Garage tomorrow, right?
So you can call Green Garage, email Green Garage, greengarage.com.
But the garage is filled today, not today.
Today we're full. But basically what you do is it's any vehicle, any maintenance, any repair, and we can help facilitate warranty coverage as well, taking it to the right dealerships if we need to. But basically you call up and say, I'm due for an oil change, I'm due for service, I have a squeak or rattle, there's a thunking sound, whatever you might need from your typical garage. We make an appointment, and then your job is done. We don't want you coming in. We come to you. We pick up the car, bring it in, do our regular magic to it, but actually talk about what our upgrades might be. So what are the interventions that aren't traditional, that might make your car better or higher fuel economy? And talk about that. Give you some ideas on eco driving and tips to get a little more bang for the buck at the pump. Or we have a mobile unit as well, where we go in, we'll set up at a business, and we'll handle the employees' vehicles while they're at work, on site, general and preventive maintenance. But
so we did that here as kind of beta, right? And employees didn't know that we had invested in this company, didn't have any idea what was going on, loved it. And they loved us for the fact that, hey, you're bringing in this green alternative for automotive, and it happens while I'm at work, and they're really cool and nice. And, this other thing that came out of it, which was wild, that we weren't really expecting, is there's a trust factor in this space if you're green. So beyond the green part, you guys can't, in good conscience, recommend like an automotive parts store might, or service center. They might recommend things where, hey, the brakes don't really need to be changed out, but we're going to make a couple $100 on this guy because we'll just do it. And that's what the automotive category is famous for. It goes against the whole charter of green, which is really, I think, a benefit that people felt here.
I use the word evolve. My whole life seeing what happens. The pressure of the infrastructure and the capital expenditure to have a dealership or to have a service center forces the hand for a sales guy to tell you what he thinks you need. We've relieved all that pressure. We have protocols in place. So, we'll give you recommendations based on our protocols that are not subjective. They're very objective. And it's empowering, I think, to the customer to say, I'll wait on that, or I'll do it. And we talk the word trust. It's not about trust. It's accurate. It's being factual.
Right. But people came back, and I know you were very hot on trust in the Schwinn days, and people came back from the experience and said, I asked them to look at my brakes. If you do that, you kind of figure, well, I'm going to need brakes, and what happened was an adjustment, not new brake pads, and because you guys don't want to add the footprint of the new part if you don't need to.
Well, I think the trust thing is important too. I've worked in a lot of different categories, and whether it's a ski area, that lift, there's a lot of trust involved with that list. Or
Yeah.
the nursery where you drop your kids off, or whether you're in the automotive business with service, or whether you're selling somebody a bicycle. Trust is a huge deal. And Ryan's got the story of we had somebody in a couple of weeks ago, and they thought they needed a tune-up, and they got the car back, and we said, hey, you don't need a tune-up. And that's customer for life at that point. I think the other part that I just want to bring up, especially in the mobile unit, it's kind of cool because companies, especially companies that have corporate social responsibility programs, can actually, we've had some examples of people ponying up and subsidizing or matching a purchase because they want their employees to be more green, they want their employees to save money, they want them as part of the program.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that's come out of the mobile unit. So the mobile unit, literally it's a truck. It's a green garage truck. It pulls up. It's got a big jack in the back. The jack comes out, a tent comes off, and the cars are serviced throughout the day in a section of
It's a transformer. That's what I heard today.
It's the transformer. Yeah. And so this mobile garage shows up and it starts doing work. What it's done to the offer, of Green Garage as a company, though, is it's put convenience as the number one thing. And that's pretty transformative for the idea. Because one of my questions, is, and probably a question from out there is, how is this going to play outside of Boulder? Yeah, it's going to work in Boulder because you guys, that's the way you are, But how's it going to work outside of Boulder? And to me, there's a total transformation now of the concept, because who doesn't want more convenience, more trust, and save a couple bucks, right? That's pretty universal. And then the green part, I either badge it or not. I either feel good about it or not. I can decide.
Whether you believe in global warming or not,
yeah.
The bottom line is convenience, efficiency, money saving, all those things are incredibly important. And so, to your point,
yeah.
We think it plays outside of Boulder.
We had there's a brand book that some of the folks were working on, and this is a funny excerpt from it. But I love going fast and hate the whole idea of doing good, and basically gets around to explaining that this creates efficiency. You save money, and the same things that are green make your car more efficient.
So there's a question that we'll probably get. Why aren't the manufacturers doing this right now? If these products are so great, why don't we see this in cars today?
Yeah, we have a guy in the shop who's our extreme concierge, and he was talking to me about the oil, and he's geeking out on the oil, just super excited about it. And he's like, "Do you know that it's S&H approved? I mean, it's the highest standard that exists. I mean, there is. That's what I use. There's nothing higher." And I'm like, "Cool." But it's important because it really is. It isn't a green product that's made from leaves that if you put it in your car it would destroy your car. It really does meet all the standards, and there is a level of excellence and efficacy and everything.
So I think the reason that it's not getting into GM products today or Toyota products today is this system is so constipated. They're 3 to 5 years out from idea to showroom. They've got, we talk about who killed the electric car. I think it's a real deal, Who are they in bed with? Who are the contracts with? How long are those contracts going out? This product is absolutely brilliant. It's an animal-based oil. It's not dinosaur-based.
So it's not
cow-based.
a vegetarian product necessarily.
It's not a vegan product.
It's not vegan,
that's for sure.
But it's above ground oil, not below ground oil.
Right.
That's
right.
right.
No digging involved.
Right. Right. And no, and less dependence on foreign oil.
Well, and quite frankly, the source, the animal fat source, it's going to be thrown away anyway. So, from a repurposing standpoint,
becomes waste.
Sustainability standpoint, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So are you disappointed that the automotive manufacturers haven't gotten around to this? Because there is a lot of people who are in all these silos, I guess, that are making these things. That they've already gone through the process of trying to sell it to the powers that be.
Well, the powers are broke.
But there'd be no Green Garage if these guys were on it.
Well,
right?
I'm happy they're not. But, of course, our goal is roll this out nationally and take our own distribution channel to task.
In past lives, I've worked with literally thousands of retailers, and I think that's part of the pressure. The automotive suppliers or the manufacturers, for them to go back and say, we're going to OEM an oil filter that lasts 10,000 miles.
Yeah.
The retailer says, wait a minute, I service every 3,000 miles, and you are not going to jack with my revenue stream.
People don't realize that dealers make their money on service. They don't make their money on selling the car. You realize this. So anything that would be a solution like that, the dealers really dislike. And I think the electric car was not, the original GM, was not embraced by the dealers because they don't need a lot of service. It's a pretty simple vehicle to keep running. Let's go to some questions from Seneca Creative. What is the long-term plan? What do you want to do? What's your dream? What are you doing? You taking this national, global,
universal,
statal?
Yeah, we're going to go everywhere.
World domination, green garage toilet paper. Sorry,
we're going to go.
I think it's a serious question.
It is. I know. We're going to get serious now.
Well, the plan, of course, is to roll out as aggressively and quickly as we can while still maintaining our quality customer care, staying true to our tenets as a business, and get our market share and absorption locked and loaded in Colorado.
Yeah.
And roll out primarily and first to Boulder-esque type communities, so Berkeley, Cambridge, Madison, Austin, Portland, these type of college towns that have like thinking, but fill in from there. So wherever there's a Whole Foods, we'll eventually want to be their neighbor.
Can I get it in? Can I get it in Denver?
Soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, of course, right now, valet and mobile, we have constraints on where we're able to go.
Right.
But this year, we want to roll out Fort Collins and Denver.
Okay.
So and build up from there.
Okay.
To your point earlier, in terms of a bit of a strategy shift on retail versus mobile and valet and the convenience factor, this idea is scalable, and mobile and valet make it even more scalable for us in terms to roll into new markets.
Right. You just add a truck with a jack, great personnel. But I mean, right now, what's key is getting the culture right, I think. Mm-hmm. And one of the aspects of the culture that I've been a little bit focused on, as a person on the board, is this idea that once a product gets into the Green Garage system, how do we? Because corporations are just like the automotive industry or car dealerships. Once you're in the corporate structure, you're trying to perform quarterly. There are these pressures that just begin to exist.
Short term.
And those pressures are not good necessarily for the customer. They're not necessarily good for the planet. They're not necessarily good for even your long-term plans. So the work with Catherine Greener, I think, is really, really worthwhile and worth talking about, because the idea there is every product fits somewhere on the scale of green, and whether you're talking about brakes or windshields, there's probably degrees of greenness, and can Green Garage be the place where people find that information and have confidence that through that transparency, a pressure is being put on manufacturers to continue down this road, so that Green Garage isn't going to run out of products. It's going to take the whole industry and ultimately make it greener and greener with each iteration.
Make things less bad and keep going. So Catherine Greener, aptly named, is our VP of Sustainability. But what we basically do is our platform is that we're not married to any one product or any one technology. We want to roll with those innovations. So along the way, as we find better replacements for what we have, we just replace it. We don't want to get ourselves bogged down with long-term contracts or really fall into the same play that corporations do today. We want to stay nimble and light on our feet and be the first to market with some really good innovations.
And Catherine has experience working with Walmart, and if you're not aware, Walmart's done a really important program where they're rating all their vendors and their practices and their manufacturing practices and their shipping practices to put them on a scale of sustainability. And Catherine worked with several other people.
Walmart, Nissan, Toyota.
Who else she's worked with? Nissan as well. But that particular rating system, I think is important, and the idea, from what I've heard, is ultimately it becomes visible to consumers too. Now the rating just goes to their vendors, but when the rating goes to their consumer, and the consumer is able to pick up 2 packages, like if I could pick up 2 things, and I could say this one's getting a 5 and this one's getting a 4. Now I got a way to choose, and within the Green Garage ecosystem, I think it's important to have the same thing.
So,
Go.
Maybe I'll pay more if I feel that that's more green and that's more important to me. So that's a 5 on the green scale. But this one, it's kind of green, makes me feel okay, but I need to save money, so that's a little less. So to have depth in that product is very important. So you're speaking to the largest audience you can.
But having the manufacturers know that consumers have the ability and transparency to go like this and make a decision, that puts a pressure on the system that
Competition.
that the typical corporate structure doesn't.
Well, I've worked a lot in the outdoor industry, and what's cool over the last 3 years in the outdoor industry, they're actually creating an eco-index. The industry is embracing it, where you can pick up a pair of shoes and say, hey, you know what? This one cost $80 and it's got a rating of an 82, and this one's the $69 pair and it's a 76. The consumer makes it intelligible choice, like you said.
When you say the industry,
it's driven by actual. It's driven by
which companies though?
First of all, it's driven by the Outdoor Industry Association, but you've got groups like Timberland and Smartwool and Keen and Yakima and probably 50 or 60 different companies.
I think you guys are. I don't know if there is a green automotive industry or initiative or association. I think that you guys are a little bit alone in this space.
It's okay. Well,
it is okay. You're going to have to carry the flag.
I would say one more thing about Catherine Greener, and going back to what I said, the first thing that pulled me in on this was the people side of it. I mean, I think it was in the 80s, she worked for GM working on Pontiac Fieros, as a mechanical engineer on the engine side, supply chain side, and so her depth of knowledge, not only from a manufacturing standpoint, but I think she had an epiphany moment on the green side of things. It's a valuable asset, and she's super smart.
Yeah. Do you feel better when you're at dinner parties now and people ask what you do?
Yeah, I don't have to muffle more voice quite so much.
Here's just a piece of cardboard that is a rough of the website that I hear just went live just a few minutes ago. So if you want to learn more and potentially get involved and help out and spread the word, you can go to greengarage.com, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
An hour into it, I think.
The site's been up for an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. So pop the cherry on that.
That's right.
We're allowed to say that. It's web. Yeah.
No censors.
Boom.
No, we can say whatever
Boom.
we want. So somebody's got an 89 Pontiac Tempest, and they want to convert it to the point. They want to convert it. Is there a point where conversion's not cost effective?
Yes. You're going to have a service life like a house. At some point, you need to do a remodel.
Do you get a bigger sticker the more you spend?
Yeah.
Like if you take your car and you make it a plug-in hybrid, do you get a
back window?
Yeah.
If you spend like $20,000, we'll repaint your car with Green Garage logos.
Okay.
So the suite of products.
Probably would. That's no joke. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
To answer the question on this Pontiac Tempest, that was a winner. To take a look at what's available. Is there an EPA certified compressed natural gas conversion?
Yeah.
Is this something that we can just simply use some basic maintenance, watch the tire pressure, nitrogen, whatever the products might be, or do we look at it and say, this is burning carbon. It's going to cost $3,000 to go through the engine. That's a total. Time to recycle the vehicle, which there's a lot of recycling now. A lot of the components can be recycled. So we always encourage...
I'd be really bummed, though, if I brought you my car and you said, the best thing you can do is recycle.
Junk it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These things are cool. I had no idea that this existed.
So that's called a tire, but this is a green...
Oh, no, I knew about tires,
Okay.
but thanks for starting basics.
This is a green diamond tire, and this is 70% recycled content, made in upstate New York, and what's neat about it, especially for Colorado, is it has carbide insets in it, which are little like silica chips. So you get the performance of a studded snow tire, and there it is, Vanna.
I'm trying to do a Vanna
But
thing
it's
here.
got great grip, all-weather tire, and not very well known. You know, the companies get swallowed up by the big boys of Goodyear, Michelin, and Yakima, Yokohama.
It's pretty badass in the snow. So if I wanted to do a big conversion, if I wanted to, try to make my vehicle into an electric vehicle, can I go to you guys? Can I call you guys about that?
Yeah, so we have partner converters that this is their specialty. Most of these guys and gals have shops that are specialized, maybe don't have the retail access or customer acquisition as part of their model, but they like to tinker and make things better. So we source that for them. So that's compressed natural gas. At times that's biodiesel, which is a series of filters and heaters.
Yeah.
If you're in the winter states, you got hybrid that you can move to plug-in hybrid, and in some cases go electric. So there's a lot of platforms you can play with, and it really is up to the imagination of the driver and a lot of tax benefits along the way. So we just get that conversation started and reach out.
And so I have a friend who, and I wanted to have him on the show, he lives in Boulder. He took his car and he has a buddy and they made it into an electric car. And instead of smoke coming out of the tailpipe, there's just a little flower that he has that sticks out of the tailpipe. And it's really cool. He kind of did this do-it-yourself thing, basically. Yeah. And I think that we're fooled into believing that, hey, that do-it-yourself revolution that happened where you could work on your own house and you could build a deck, out back and do all those sorts of things, you can't do it in this space, right? Well, this is too complicated. There are people that are taking this whole, I call it power yourself. I mean, there's some like crazy dirtbags in the hills, west of here, who are making their own wind turbines, and they're making them out of wood and winding engines that are like wood and wire, and they're working, right? So, there is this American ingenuity that's still there.
That's back, actually.
That we've always prided ourselves on, and we've somehow almost lost it in this space. And it's really fun, and going to somebody like you to be, an intermediary in that, it gives me a lot of confidence and takes all the hassle out of it.
So
too.
This story, when you look at car companies, right, and you remember the movies like Tucker and what was going on, there were a whole bunch of automotive manufacturers before World War II, hundreds of them. And then there was this massive consolidation. And we, as the United States, we got accustomed to the fact that if I need something car-related, I have to go to GM, Ford, or Chrysler. Then we go along, and there's a few more players that come in. We call them Rising Sun Motors, but Nissan, Toyota, Subaru, they started coming on the landscape. But for the most part, there was this consolidation of the industry. Now, after the collapse of the industry, those ingenuitive people are back, and now you see big revolutionary companies, but still smaller, like Tesla, Fisker. And they say, well, forget those guys. I'm not going to sell my idea to them.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it myself. If it's a one-off for my own garage,
right,
or start my own little business that makes $100 a year.
One of the questions that came in is, will you guys work with car dealers? And what you just said made me think, is there an opportunity to, if I have a Tesla or a Fisker, I don't really necessarily live where there's a dealership. It's not the same thing that occurred with GM and thousands of dealerships. Green Garage might be a good option for that in terms of service, because already I've got the convenience factor, and I imagine you're going to have some expertise in the areas of hybrid, plug-in electric, or plug-in hybrid and electric.
Well, a lot of these companies, for the outreach, okay, it's one thing to make it, but now how do you service it? How do you exercise or execute warranties? Where do they take? So these smaller companies like Tesla, they fly technicians in to work on the car. And I don't know how long-term that is as a strategy, but I would think that Fisker, Tesla, and those type are going to need to partner up with servicing centers.
It's long-term as long as they can convince people that it's necessary and maybe you can't do the job in some ways, right?
Well, the bottom line is, whoever it is, it has to be a like-minded car dealership of some type.
What may be troubling about the model is that it's too similar to a car dealership model, and that service may be an area where you need to make your margin, and so giving the consumer a Green Garage like convenience and expertise. I don't know. Is that going to happen, or are they going to try to hold on to that?
I don't know. I think, the businesses that are
question.
making it through and I think are the most interesting, that are coming out of this recession, are those that are nimble, light, low overhead, and can offer a new way to retail or new way to service their customers.
Yeah.
Those are the winners.
Yeah.
But I think, it's kind of funny. There's mass and then there's niche, and I believe right now there's what I like to call super niche. And at Green Garage's world, this 5 minutes of our lives, we're kind of a super niche. What it is, it's a narrow slice, but you know what? There's some serious depth to it. And I think that's a really powerful statement to make, and I think the narrow slice is going to continue to broaden out as we can continue to move forward.
We have a question that says, how long does it take to change the oil on my car? Sounding like it's not an easy process. We've made it sound too complicated.
It's super easy.
It's extremely easy. Yeah.
It's the exact same process on our side. For the customer, I think it's kind of funny. A lot of people will ask them, well, how come you're not staying up on your oil changes or staying current with your maintenance? I say, well, I don't have the time, and I don't prioritize it that high. So that's fine, but for the customer's standpoint, leave your keys on your desk, we'll come take it, and before you go home at night, they'll be sitting right there, and off you go.
Yeah.
But our process is the same. It's changing bad oil, putting in good oil, changing an old filter, putting in a new filter.
It's like if a Jiffy Lube came to you, but it could do all sorts of other stuff as well, right? And if that Jiffy Lube, instead of recommending that you change your oil all the time, which is what they recommend, I mean, they recommend twice as many oil changes as the manufacturer recommends, I believe. And where we would, our belief is with this filter and this oil, how long can you go without an oil change?
If it's a good climate, like a California coastal, not extreme swings in temperatures, and this sounds strange, but this is based on dialysis, so it's a different process of filtration. This can go 10 times longer, up to 30,000 miles on the oil, every 10,000 miles on the filter. So talk about time savings there. Even if we come pick it up, we have to do that
I heard a
once.
cool stat, which is and I don't know, I just heard it from our geeked out guy, and he said the filter's so good that when you first start to filter the oil gets cleaner.
Yep. But
Like brand new oil gets cleaner.
This little discussion, this last 3 minutes, is exactly what we're talking about. We're breaking the category convention of typical service or the auto dealership sort of manufacturer mindset. If somebody says how difficult it is, we say, hey, it's not difficult. We're not here to mildly confuse you. We're here to say, hey, it's pretty easy to do and it's not a hassle. Don't worry, we can take care of it and it's convenient, et cetera, et cetera. This discussion is exactly the opposite of what's...
It's basically an email. You email Green Garage and say, I'm looking to get some
the end of
service
your work.
done. And that's it. You're kind of done.
Let me add one
This person
thing.
says, I change my oil every 3,000 miles.
That's what,
Yeah, so that's twice. The manufacturer probably says to change your oil every 5,000 miles. But again, it doesn't benefit Jiffy Lube for you to do it so infrequently. So they say every 3,000 miles. You're saying potentially every 30,000 miles, depending on the climate.
So who and how is that number being driven that I need to change it every 3,000 miles? If I'm
an accountant at Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, I want to see you 4 times a year because you're going to drive 12 to 15,000 miles a year. So I want to see you a lot, get you habituated to come in. Well, that number's been. Look, I've been a car dealer much of my life, and that number's been thrown around because of accounting. But don't you think that since 1955 they recommend that service interval, that something's happened, that's not necessary anymore?
You mean that there was some improvement in the technology
mild.
in the 40,
over the last
55 years since? Yeah.
Possibly.
I would hope so, but there's been a clamp down on improvements in some ways, and we've seen that in the industry, right? Improvements that aren't going to make more money are not necessarily considered an improvement, and that's what's creating the cracks that are allowing for guys like you to have a shot at having a business and creating a new way with consumers.
Yeah, that's right.
I think.
That's right.
We hope.
And
We hope.
This thing, just to throw out one more product, this one's kind of fun in that it's got a compound called boron that makes your engine more slipperier. The walls are slipperier, if that's the right word. So there's less friction.
I don't think it's a great
Slipperier.
word. Yeah.
But there's less friction.
Right.
So you get better fuel economy. there's great innovations that really stemmed out of that run-up of gas and oil that we had in 2008. There's a lot of these guys that said, let's just do this. Forget, kind of we say, giving the Heisman to the manufacturers. Let's just get these to market. So that the other thing that's pretty exciting is now these innovations are coming to us saying, that's our channel to market, which is different as well.
Right.
Different conversation.
Right. Question from Big Buzz Key, what do you think of the greenwashing going on in the auto industry?
Greenwashing in any industry. You got to be able to walk the walk. Some of the manufacturers, where green is an icon they put on their website, and that's where it ends. Some are sincerely taking a look at their culture, their processes, their landfill waste, the products they produce, and they're really making it part of their next evolution as a corporation. Corporations can only go so far because of the economics of it and the accounting of it. But I'm worried about being lumped into those that are pretenders as far as greenwashing. So that's why we have to be very authentic in what we do.
I think
How do you find? So go ahead.
Real quick, one of the greatest things about trying to be green or being more efficient for a corporation is that you save money and it goes to the bottom line. And I'm okay with that motivation. That driver is great. Walmart is a perfect example of that driver. That's how they started.
Convenience is great,
So-
and saving money is great. And that's why, and you guys have seen huge uptake of the fleet offer, which is, again, it wasn't really the original idea, but the business has taken off in a lot of ways from companies calling and saying, how can you make our fleet more efficient? And help us take steps in this area, and then maybe even subsidize some of what we're doing with our
That's
employees.
right. So normally, when you buy something that's green, the first thing that goes off is, well, it's going to cost me more money. So in a tough economy, how green do I really want to be when I'm balancing the checkbook? Our focus has been on green products that save money, and now thinking about that from a business perspective, now I can be green, save money, everybody's happy. We can even advertise that and leverage the fact that our fleet is green. In a great economy, everybody wants to be green. Now you need to be a little more sensitive.
Maybe the example would be sort of the CFL light bulb.
Well,
Last longer, use less energy, a little bit higher upfront cost, but big payoff in the long run. Solve my problem, make me feel good at the same time.
Well, if you think about the word sustainable, it means that we can keep going, right? That it doesn't come to an end. So it's really, green can make it feel, a little bit more of a tree hugger thing. And we call the service techs
Car huggers.
car huggers.
What's your title?
Car hugger? Well, we have
He's the chief car hugger
Chief car
as
hugger.
CEO.
Chief car hugger. But it can get into a world that feels a little politicized. But having a sustained plan for the economy, for business, for humanity, it's frustrating that that's become politicized because there isn't an alternative. Like, we won't survive an unsustainable system.
Well, there's a footprint no matter what you do. We're going to burn carbon. So we're all doing that, but there's no reason why we shouldn't do less. I think it makes sense. Hey, we've ridden Mother Earth pretty hard the last 3,000 years and put her away wet a few times. I think even the small things make a huge difference when we can get 1 million or 2 million or 3 million people on the program.
Yeah, before you got to turn it around and start going the other direction before you're going to really get anywhere. So we're going the wrong direction now. This is Ryan's car, actually, and why'd you pick a Subaru? It's a Subaru, right?
It's a Subaru. Well, actually, this is, again, another reason
If you see this car, this is Ryan. Stop him. If you're
Hopefully
in town,
I'm not picking my nose while I'm
talk
driving.
to him. Get a card from him.
Well, this is another good reason why I appreciate that we partnered up with CPB. And to your earlier question about an ad agency, I'm thinking, well, to be sustainable in the direction we're going with the company, I should go get a Prius. Well, staff here recommended, hey, you need to stick to every person's car and let's make that better so that you can show, obviously, a proof of principle of what the heck your products do.
Yeah.
But that That was a 2-year-old vehicle. I absolutely love it. I feel like the footprint is a lot less, and really, there's footprint problems with hybrids right now. It's not necessarily the answer. We just don't have,
right.
As a society, we don't know what other options are in play.
And on the car, you call out some of the products that Green Garage is involved with. One that we didn't talk about that's on there, the tailpipe.
Right.
Because we haven't talked that much about lowering emissions. That's a neat piece of technology.
Essentially, it's a cigarette filter that you put on your tailpipe, captures about 70% of the particulates post catalytic converter. You just change that out and service it, so you're emitting less emissions.
How often would I have to service that?
Depends on the miles, but not very often.
Every 3,000 miles?
Yeah, every 3,000 miles.
Every 1,500.
Yeah, every 1,500. Every 1,000 mile. Every 10 miles. So not that often?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you know specifically?
I think 20,000, 30,000 miles. Depends
Okay.
on the use. Are you towing? What sort of use load are you on?
So that's a lot. One of the things that I like about this conversation is just, and I like that we have an audience of marketing people. In general, business and the way we're doing business across all categories is not sustainable, right? And there needs to be new forms of going to market and new ways for ideas to get out there. And there also needs to be, I think, a new kind of capitalism, like a development of capitalism itself. And I think marketing people we might feel like we don't have a place in that, actually, in that design. I think there's a lot of marketing people that feel, well, we're not the MIT grads. We're not the engineers, we're not the economists, we're not the bean counters. We don't have a place in the design of that. But what we are is we're in the corporate boardroom. There are CMOs and there are marketing professionals in very high places in companies, and we have more emotion than the average person, I think, in the business setting. We're tasked with having that emotion. We're tasked with having that conversation with consumers and having that the trained antenna and the ability to participate in that conversation that's happening with customers. Customers want to help. I think they want to vote every day with every purchase decision. And as marketers, we can start to help give them the tools to do that, and it is fundamental. I really don't believe that we're going to be successful turning things around if marketers aren't heavily involved in it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think it's a powerful statement. As a marketing geek myself, you can become an integral part in that communication process and how you communicate it so people are warm and open to it.
Yeah.
I think the second thing you said was important. Now I think there's a lot of great companies out there that have a CMO. There's a marketing person sitting at that executive board meeting,
right,
in an executive boardroom. It's
right,
incredibly important. But I think every marketing person should have this in mind moving forward. Now, some will, some won't. It depends.
Some
I
will,
think it's a
some
personal
won't.
choice.
But
almost.
if you have it, if that is your genuine voice, I think now is the time to speak up. Right? It's important that we all, especially as marketing people, that are in that boardroom, that we start to speak up. And
I think it's incremental too. I don't. You may not get big, giant quantum leaps, but quantum also means small too. And I think we can make incremental steps,
yeah,
move in the right direction. And when a lot of people get involved, it makes a big difference. Sort of a mini movement.
I think that if you look for the perfect solution and only the perfect solution is the one that's worthy, you don't allow for what really the world works on iteration. It works on micro change, right? That's the process that's always worked. We can't suddenly leap to a perfect solution, and we all have to participate in all these little micro decisions. I'm really glad you guys came on today, and it's fun to get to work with you again.
Likewise, Eddie.
Really fun, and I'm thrilled and proud to know you and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So that's it for us for another Fearless. We'll be back next week with something or other. And thanks for watching. We're gonna have some pie now.
Oh, good.
Did you say pie?
Yeah, pie. Got you.
Have a fork. A little pie. I say go for the smile first.